1,000 kilometers, 21 days, 5 different countries, and 6 different cities. €0. My name is Edouard, and in June 2016, I traveled for 21 days with absolutely no money. So, from Germany to Hungary, here was the challenge, to travel with absolutely no money. So I emptied my wallet before leaving home, and I hit the road. And to toughen up the challenge a bit, I committed to not use internet. So I couldn't use Couchsurfing or Helpix or the similar websites that allows you to find accommodation or host for free. And like this began one of the most incredible experiences I've ever lived in my life. There should be music on. When I came back home, everybody asked me the single same question. How? How did you do that? How did you survive for 21 days with no money? I can't even survive for 1 day with no money. I have to eat, I have to sleep somewhere. How did you do that? Well, here is the secret. When you travel, you basically only have 3 things to pay. The first thing is transportation, getting from point A to point B. The second thing is food. What are you going to eat? What are you going to drink? And the last thing is accommodation. Where are you going to sleep? And you can make these 3 things free. And here is how. For transportation, I hitchhiked the whole trip. I've been picked up by cars, trucks, van. Well, that wasn't a van actually, that was a hearse. You know, the kind of vehicle that transport dead people. So this hearse was transporting a dead from Leipzig to Dresden, and let's just say I had the privilege to be part of the wonderful journey. I even got a ride from a smart car that was driving 150 kilometers an hour on the highway in Germany. I mean, I have to say I didn't even know such a small car could drive that fast, and I have to admit that I was quite scared. For food, I was basically asking restaurants for leftovers. So I would just run into a restaurant and say, hey, my name is Edouard, I'm 23 years old, I'm from Belgium, and I'm doing this travel experiment. I try to travel with no money. So if you have anything that is not good anymore, that you plan to throw, that you won't use, that you won't sell, and that you would like to give it to me, I would be more than happy. As expected, most of people just told me no, but sometimes people gave me stuffs, and as expected, I received a lot of bread. And I have to admit that during 3 days, that's the only thing I ate, bread and water. But as you can see, I was happy, really happy. But when people gave me stuffs, most often than not, they would cook a proper meal from scratch for me, or give me delicious dishes. This is how I had pizza, Thai kebab, chocolate cake with cappuccino, gratin dauphinois, at a nice terrace in Dresden with a very nice view. Chocolate cake with macaron at the #1 cake shop according to TripAdvisor in Budapest. And that little soup and that fruit juice in the #1 restaurant according to TripAdvisor in Vienna. Believe me or not, but the waiter at this restaurant, when I wanted to sit down, even put out my chair so that I could sit down. I mean, nobody has ever done that to me before in my life. For accommodation, I was asking random people in the street. So I would just run into a stranger and say, hey, my name is Edouard, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to host me tonight? I'm not going to ask you that. So, as expected, 9 out of 10 times people told me no. But I learned something from that. I learned to redefine my view about rejection. Now, we all face rejections in our daily lives. We go to a job interview, we don't get the job. We go talk to that pretty girl in a bar, we get rejected. The thing is, most of us experience rejection once a day, once a month, sometimes even once a year. So we are not so accustomed to it, and that's why it hurts so much when we are rejected. But there are 2 things I'd like to share with you about rejection. And that comes from a guy who has experienced an average of 20 rejections a day for 21 days. So the first thing I'd like to share with you about rejection is that people are never rejecting you. People are rejecting the idea you represent. So never take it personally. When you are hitchhiking, for example, who has ever hitchhiked in his life? All right, good. We have a good group. So the vast majority of people who won't take you hitchhiking won't do it simply because it's in their identity. That's who they are. They don't take hitchhikers. You are an hitchhiker. They don't take you. That's it. End of the story. Don't take it personally. And the second thing about rejection is that rejection does not mean you won't have anything at all. Rejection just means that you will have something a little bit different. But rejection does not mean the game is over. For example, when I was asking random people in the street, hey, can I sleep at your place tonight? And someone told me no. I wasn't telling myself, that means I'm going to have to sleep outside tonight. No, I wasn't telling that. I was just telling myself, all right, that means I'm going to have to find someone else, and I'm going to live another experience that might be even better than the one I just missed. We shouldn't be afraid of rejection. It is just part of life. And to me, getting what you want in life is just a matter of being willing to experience enough rejection before having what you actually want. So, I didn't sleep a single night outside. It did happen that at 4 a.m. I was still in the streets looking for someone to host me, but I always found somebody. And in the end, it taught me to put things into perspective. When I would finally find someone to host me, as I was laying on the couch or on the bed, before falling asleep, I would always remind myself, hey, I got food in my stomach, I have water in my bottle, I have a roof above my head and a mattress under my back, everything is fine, I'm happy. Food, water, and shelter, these are things we take for granted in our daily lives. But if we think about it, we're actually so lucky and so blessed to have them every day. Now, what are the big lessons that I've learned from during this trip? Why did I do that? I already shared some of them with you, some of the lessons, but I'd like now to share with you the 4 biggest lessons I've learned from doing this trip. And I believe these are lessons we can all apply in our daily lives. Because in the end, life is a journey too. So the first thing I've learned is that this is not about what you get. This is about what you give. I began this journey wondering each time I was meeting someone new, what can I get from this person? Can I get a food? Can I get a ride? Can I get an accommodation? And I ended up this journey wondering questions that were completely different. Questions like, what can I give to this person? Can I give a smile, my enthusiasm, an inspiring story to share? Sing a song for them? Dance with them? Anything. And switching these questions from the getting to the giving completely changed my journey. And I have to say that I've lived the best moments of my journey when I was in the giving mindset and not in the getting mindset. But to give, you have to go talk to strangers. So that's the second thing. Drop the fear to approach people, and the world can be an amazing place. When you travel with no money, it forces you to constantly meet new people because your survival depends on them. In our daily lives, we sometimes even struggle to ask for a way when we are lost. It is just so easy to take our smartphones and ask a Google Map. We are not so used anymore to start a conversation with a complete stranger and start a relationship out of nothing. This journey taught me to drop my fear of the other. And I have learned that you don't need a good reason to start a conversation with someone you don't know. You don't need to be in the same university. You don't need to be in the same sports clubs. You don't need to be introduced by a common friend. Just dare to say hello to a complete stranger. Dare to just run in a bar and say to the first stranger you meet, "Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy." I mean, dare to say it. Dare to just say, "Hey, I saw you, you look cool. I mean, my name is Edward." Don't say your name is Edward unless your name is Edward, of course. But dare to say it. For example, this guy and his friend, they were carrying a couch around Vienna. And at each famous stop, 7 of them, they had to drop the couch and lay on the couch and just enjoy life. So when I met them, I had to introduce myself. I told them, "Hey, you guys are amazing." They looked at me and they told me, "You want to come with us?" And this is how I ended up spending the whole afternoon with 2 guys from Vienna, just carrying a couch around Vienna. All right, the third thing is sometimes not having the choice is the best option you can have. When you travel with money, has traveled with money? All right, everybody, I guess, yeah. When you travel with money, you can basically pick anything you want. You can pick the accommodation where you're gonna stay at, the food you're gonna eat, the transportation you're gonna take. But when you decide to travel with no money, you just don't have that luxury of choice anymore. So when someone gives you something, you have to accept it. So for example, when you are hitchhiking and a car stops, the car looks a bit dirty, and the driver doesn't seem to speak any languages you are speaking. You can't just say, "Yeah, thank you for stopping by, but I'll just wait for another car." You can't say that, because the guy stopped his car. He gave you a chance, so you have to give him a chance. And this is how I ended up spending 2 hours in the truck of a Ukrainian truck driver that didn't speak any languages I was speaking. And so during 2 hours, he kept telling me stories in Ukrainian. And I had to remind him every 10 minutes with a broad smile on my face, "You get that I don't understand a single word of what you are saying, don't you?" But you know what? That was one of the most interesting and funniest moments of my journey, because I am not so sure that if I would have met this guy in a bar in my hometown, I would have spent 2 hours talking with him, especially not in Ukrainian. But here, 1,000 kilometers away from home, with no money, I had no choice. And sometimes, not having the choice is the best option you can have. And the last thing is, there are no such things as bad experiences. To me, there are only experiences that lead you to better things. But I believe we should never regret anything. Because ultimately, the bad things that happen to us make us grow, make us learn, and lead us to better things. I think it was the second night of my trip. I was in Leipzig, Eastern Germany, and I started asking random people in the street, "Hey, can I sleep at your place tonight?" I began at 8 p.m., and 4 hours later, it was midnight, complete darkness, and I still hadn't found anybody. So after 4 hours of rejections, more than 20 rejections, and I started, I have to say, to feel bad and to question myself, like, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself in such conditions when you experience so much rejection, so much pain? But then I met those 4 German girls. And they accepted to host me. I was super happy. And then they looked at me and they told me, "But first, we are going to a nightclub. And you are coming with us." There, I was in heaven. At some point of the evening, one of the girls asked me, what's the worst thing about traveling the way you do? I thought about it. And I just told her, well, you know, nothing. Because you see, tonight I experienced more than 20 rejections. During 4 hours, I felt really bad. But in the end, all these small rejections and bad experiences led me at the exact place at the right time to cross your path and to meet you. No. Seriously? All right. And that's basically the story of my journey. How all these little rejections and bad experiences led me to meet the people who made my journey and live moments I will remember as long as I lived. As a closing, am I trying to sell you something? Am I suggesting that you should just leave your wallet at home and start traveling with no money the way I did? Of course not. If it's not your thing, don't do it. All I want to say is dare a bit more. A little bit of courage can change your life. Ask yourself the question, what would I do if I were completely fearless? Go talk to that stranger. Pursue your dream, go on an adventure. Because in the end, as Helen Keller once said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Thank you very much.